This is Lemon's Car Spotting. You post to Instagram with the hashtag Lemon's Car Spotting. We pick the hooptiest.
They are so incredibly terrible.
And which one we want to become a real Lemons build.
It does car-like things. We've been pushing for one of those in Lemons too, and those are very affordable.
Hey, it is Lemon's Car Spotting, the terrible YouTube show where we review cars that you have posted on Instagram with the hashtag Lemon's Car Spotting. Each week, we look at 10 cars and we pick two winners, the hooptiest, which is the hooptiest, and the Lemons build, which is the car we actually want to see show up on a Lemons racetrack as a real race car.
All right. And I, Eric, am going to be the guy who prompts Nick to pick. This will be the Lemons build we want to see. This will be the hoopty build we want to see using our patented method. Nick, let me know when to stop.
Stop.
Left. Yeah, there we go.
Man, I'm on a roll. I've been doing the Lemons builds lately. I want to see if, a few months down the road, we start to see all of these cars that I have selected as the best choice.
I sincerely hope so.
All right, let's get into it.
Right off the start. Yeah.
So this is, I don't know when this episode is going to air, but we do have a sort of tangentially Chrysler of this era related Lemons World episode coming out. And what's the deal with these? They're not technically a K car, but they're based. It's like a stretched and updated K car.
Yeah. And I mean, the updated term should be used pretty loosely on this. It's, there was the P platform and the N platform and something else, but they're all based on the K car. This is a LeBaron sedan with a V6. I can tell from the badge on the front fender. I had a Plymouth Acclaim that was essentially the same car as this, and it was terrible, but I kind of liked it. I don't know why.
And actually, now that I think about it, we had a whole Lemons World just on the LeBaron and the famous car that races down at NOLA that is basically this car, but with the vinyl Landau roof on it. Fine Lemons selection. That one looks pretty nice.
Yeah, I like the wheels.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah.
I saw one of these on the freeway the other day, and it was an older gentleman. It had personalized plates. The guy he's probably the original owner, and it was like his pride and joy. And I was thinking how, this was probably a super snazzy car when it was brand new. Then it went through a phase where it was just like, oh, it's an old Toyota from the 80s. But now it's coming back into its own again with the Radwood era. And this thing it's got cool fender flares. It's got super 80s styling. This thing looks like it's in perfect condition.
Yeah, flip up headlights. It's got it all. Now, I don't know if this is a Supra. It's definitely a Celica based, and they were all kind of the same thing.
This is a Celica. They did not make a Supra convertible of this generation. And the Supra is longer from the front door forward. I think the Supra's got some extra length that this one doesn't have. So this would have the famous 22RE. Great motor for small trucks, not so great for sports cars, but hey, it'll last forever.
I believe these were called the Sun Chaser, the Celica Sun Chaser. Maybe that was the previous one.
I think that was the previous, a semi aftermarket conversion. This is a bona fide factory convertible, but yeah, pretty cool.
I like the battery box looking seatbelt holder on the fender there.
Yeah. That's pretty good. All right. Moving on. Oh, man.
Man, that's a twofer.
Yep. You got yourself a Probe, which I got to say, pretty good Lemons car.
It is a good Ford because it's actually a Mazda. That's
right.
The reality of it.
I guess that is the one weird trick that will turn your 90s Ford coupe into a good Lemons car. Now, the Probe GT, which I kind of doubt that one is, had that little Mazda V6, which sounds really good. It's super smooth, but has the tendency to explode in lemons. Has that? There was a period where every time we had one of those, it would oil down the track. But has that kind of tamed down, or are people just running the 4-cylinder versions?
No, people still run the V6s. They seem like a mixed bag. The Burnt Rubber Soul guys out of Ohio, they've kind of figured it out. I don't know, whatever they're doing, they keep them alive. It's probably just not, revving it past 4,500 RPM.
That's usually a good rule of thumb for pretty much any Lemons car. I also want to point out that I would be willing to bet that these two cars are really close in model year. They're both like 95s or whatever. And it really goes to show you, it's sort of, the chart of progress, Ford versus General Motors, where, Ford was like, all right, we're with the times, we've got a car that looks like a shuttlecraft from Star Trek Voyager. And then General Motors is like, people like wood grain. They still do, I swear.
Well, again, there's a long A-body Lemons world that needs to happen, because it's a car that there's a lot going on there. It was the car that GM built until 1996, because the guy who owned a 71 Caprice was like, I like my cars boxy. I do not want compound curves. So there's a point to it. And, arguably is what killed Oldsmobile, is when the Cutlass Sierra went away. But
right.
I had one of these. I had a Cutlass cruiser wagon of this same vintage, and about 68 miles an hour is the only speed at which that car is happy. Like just cruising down the highway like a couch. So what this is really is an A+ setup for a Lemons race team with a Lemons rally car.
Yeah. Comfort and performance all in a 2-car package.
There you go.
All right. Oh. Well, all right. Over under on the age of the owner of this vehicle. Oh. And I'm going to set the over under at 74.
I would take the under on that, I think.
Yeah. I mean, this is just like such an old coot thing to do, is take a car that is just such a nothing mobile, but then, do everything to keep it in pristine shape.
Yeah. This is a very Arizona. Yeah, no, you're right. It's Arizona. I think the over is probably actually the safe bet, now that I think about it. I don't know. These are... Ooh. All right, so in the comments, tell us what the wheels are underneath this. I mean, the safe play is like stock steel wheels with caps, but who knows? It's got tint, so maybe it's...
it could have some chrome aftermarket situations. I mean, they're not super aggressive diameter or whatever they are. So if there's an upgrade, it's a modest one. Okay,
great.
Let's go. Oh man. So, God, this is the era. Okay, Oldsmobile.
It's an Oldsmobile or a Buick, and somebody in the comments will be able to tell us exactly what this is. But go on.
Yeah. Well, man. So Newark, New Jersey, which is
that looks right. Yep.
About the least surprising thing that's happened to me in a while is learning that this thing is from Newark, New Jersey. Looks like it had a vinyl top, and the horror of what's underneath the vinyl top has been revealed. Although, to be fair to the vinyl top, the hood did the same thing despite not being covered in vinyl. So it was a losing battle no matter what was going to happen.
Yeah, I mean, I can almost pinpoint this is like 1976. Like it has to be in the middle of the Malaise era. Where they have these weird, like the teardrop shape of the front fender, down to the style line to the rear door. And then there's like a completely square everything else on the front of the car. Like they couldn't make up their mind. So they're like, yeah, maybe both. So
yeah, man.
Yeah, I have no idea what this actually is. I would guess it's like an old 98 or something. But
Tell us in the comments. Tell us what the motor options would have been. Tell us what it was like when your
bad.
grandma had one. We know
the motor options would have been bad. I'm gonna go ahead and
yeah, big and not powerful.
Yeah.
I'm gonna guess. All right, moving on. What the?
I got to read the comments. Yeah.
Yeah, this is a Daewoo. So we're in Panama. You know, we haven't been to Panama in a while. Jake down there in Panama is a prolific Lemons car spotting poster. There's cool stuff that they get down there that we don't get here, and then they also get Daewoos.
Gotta say, totally set up to dominate in Lemons because it's a Daewoo racer. It's in the name.
Oh wow, look at that. Now, did we didn't get the sedan version? This generation of Daewoo racer. It was sold as the Pontiac Le Mans here, which, you know, to be fair, isn't less dumb.
Right.
But did we get the sedan version here, or did we only get the little hatchback?
I think it's conceivable that they attempted.
Yeah, you know, it doesn't look
one.
unfamiliar, so maybe we did get it.
Maybe this is the Geo Spectrum.
Maybe.
I'm not sure. I don't know what a Geo Spectrum actually is. Actually,
Yeah.
now that I say it out loud.
Yeah, nobody knows.
Yeah. Lost to history.
Yeah. Okay.
Oh,
man. Yeah. Well,
Rockford, Illinois. That also looks correct.
yeah. So this is interesting. It's got fish decals on the side, and I assume that's a reference to the fact that, you know, everybody talks about how the Pacer looks like a fish bowl, which I suppose that it does.
Yeah, Rockford, Illinois I went to the AMC owners meeting, whatever it was, several years ago for Roadkill when I was writing for them. And yeah, I mean, you're in the shadow of Kenosha, so it makes sense that, you know, this was Dad's Pacer that he bought and built on the line after 7 beers. So
yeah,
you know, there it is. I'd like to point out it's also smashed up on the curb next to a Geo Metro, it looks like.
Oh yeah, actually, you know, I think that's a Chevy Sprint.
Yeah, there we go. Talking about the Spectrum.
Yeah, which that might actually be the Geo Spectrum. Nobody knows.
Nobody knows.
Well, that's pretty cool. Like the white walls.
Yeah.
All right. Oh, what the?
We're definitely in.
Yeah, we're not in this country anymore.
Is that a Peugeot?
I was gonna say Fiat because it looks sort of like a 124.
It's probably a Lada
grill. Yeah, so it's probably an Eastern European license built Fiat. Again, in the comments, tell us where we've gone wrong. Well, so the interesting thing, I mean, I know very little about that whole situation. I mean, there was the Polish Fiat that was a 126. There was the Yugo, which was some other kind of Fiat. You know, they picked a car to copy and then they copied it. And was it a good car? No. Was it a bad car? Also, no. It was just the car that they chose, and then that was fine. So I don't really know what to say.
There's a whole culture of cars in developing countries where it's like, this is the car, therefore you like it. You know, the Iran Khodro Pican. There's a great documentary about it. You know, it's like this cultural symbol.
Right.
Everybody had one, and everybody's dad swore at it constantly. And you know, they all had the little. You have to jab the screwdriver in here to turn it. You know.
Right. Yeah, I think the Hindustan ambassador in India probably falls in that category. I know that in China, the Passat, whatever generation, it's like the 2nd generation Passat that came to the US as the Quantum, is like, you know, they made it forever in China, and that's the car that everybody had there. So yeah, it's always a car that becomes a thing, and you know, oftentimes not a very remarkable one, but there you go.
I should point out that the 2 iconic cars of Mexico are the Volkswagen Beetle and the Nissan B13 Sentra that they built for 30 years.
100% true. Yeah. The Nissan Tsuru or whatever it is. I was just watching some Baja 500 coverage, and of course they have Class 11 in Baja racing, which is essentially stock air-cooled VW Beetles, and there was all this coverage on the Baja, and there was aggro, like, oh, this guy rammed me, this guy, blah, 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 blah. He didn't pay attention to this. Like, I couldn't read his number, blah, blah, blah. It was all of this real racer stuff. They were doing racer CSI. Finally, the last post was about Class 11, and somebody says, why is it that these guys seem to be having more fun than everybody else? And it's like, yeah, when you're not an aggro real racer, you have more fun. This is what we've been trying to tell you all along.
Yes, this is why you race a 1974 Chrysler Newport in Lemons.
Exactly. All right. Second to last, penultimate. Oh, what the? Man, Chicago, your hometown.
Yeah, that's at Belmont and something. So that's on the north side of Chicago somewhere, which kind of makes sense. It's like a Mark X.
Yeah, again, in the comments, tell us. But yeah, there's Mark X, there's Mark 1. I don't know my giant Jaguars of this era. The interesting thing about these is that they are pretty affordable, but mechanically they're similar to an E-Type or any other Jag of that era. So they're pretty, technically good cars. They're just the collector appreciation for the big sedans is markedly less, to the point where Russ Passwald up there in the Pacific Northwest region of Lemons got a terrible body of a similar car to this and raced it in Lemons. So
there's a whole, if you want to race a Jaguar in Lemons, you will have no trouble finding one. That is 100% correct.
Yeah.
They're everywhere.
Yeah,
like an old XJ early one, up until 1996, they're all worth about the same money. It's not very much.
And according to Russ, any of the Jags that have that straight six that dates back to this era, once you strip away all of the electronics that randomly make it stop running, that they're fundamentally sound mechanically. So,
literally the same engine for 45 years. Yeah.
So I'm sure he's right. That's the secret. All right, last for this week, we've got an art car based on a full-size Chevy truck.
With those are Minions, I think.
I
think on there. It's hard to tell.
Yeah, I will say, I mean, this looks like it's reasonably well executed. Usually when you see a quote unquote art car, it just looks awful because somebody has glued a bunch of stuff onto the car that, immediately faded and got dirty and just looks awful. But I do appreciate the effort to stand apart, because for all of the things that people do to be unique in terms of clothes, dress, personal appearance, all of that, half the time they go outside and get into a silver Honda SUV. So, if you've got tattoos and piercings and interesting hair and interesting makeup and interesting clothes, go out and drive this. Don't be so conservative with your automobile.
Even paint your Nissan Rogue with something. Whatever.
Minions on the side. We don't care.
Exactly.
All right. So that takes us to the award winners, the Hooptiest and the Lemons build. Eric, you've got the Hooptiest, so you have the honors of going first.
Oh, man. There is a particularly hoopty scene from a town not far from where I grew up that I think takes the cake here, which is the very tired-looking AMC Pacer parked next to a Chevy Sprint in front of a boarded-up house. That's as rust belt as you could possibly get, unless the only way it could be more so would be if there was a square body truck back by the Winnebago in the back there.
Well, I mean, I think we can pretty safely assume that there is one. You just can't see it for the trees.
Yeah.
Well,
totally
I don't disagree with that selection. course, the house is for sale too. Look at that. You can get the
There you
whole
go.
package.
Fizbo by owner. There you go.
Yeah. So that is a good choice. We always like to see that. Boy, putting a racer in a Lemons race seems like an obvious thing, but I am going to go with the big giant olds. And
Yeah,
this
buddy.
is contradicting. This is for the Lemons build, of course, what we actually want to see on a Lemons racetrack. This is contradicting slightly what I did on another episode of Lemons Car Spotting, where there was essentially the wagon version of this same basic generation and body style of General Motors car. And Jay pointed out that they're horrible and completely out of control. And so then I decided not to pick it as the Lemons build because we didn't want to see it barreling through the paddock, running people over because the driver couldn't control it. I decided that was a mistake. And we do want to see one of these at a Lemons track. So this, whatever it may be, is your Lemons build for the week.
I can't argue with that. It's beautiful. Put some numbers on that thing and bring it.
Yeah. Whatever you do, don't change the roof or hood detailing. All right. Well, that does it for the show. Keep posting with hashtag Lemons Car Spotting on Instagram. We will find your photos and talk about them here. And maybe, like this Oldsmobile Buick, it will win an award. So thanks. We'll see you next week.
Man, Detroit is back.
You'd have to put some big circle track steel wheels on it or leave it as is.